On the other hand, a television series only focused on one character's struggles would not offer the political polemic against failed institutions. Such would only obscure the greater social web, which dictates individual circumstances. The Wire demonstrates this systemic network in the 5th season by mirroring the fiction plotlines of Scott Templeton and Jimmy McNulty. Just as the field of newsprint journalism has been debased by a power structure of finance capitalism, this notion is comically paralleled in the police department in McNulty's creation of a serial killer in order to impel his department to shift from short-term rips and petty arrests to high-level cases. Though there is an impulse for professional recognition in both cases, McNulty importantly distinguishes himself by noting his moral impetus.
You know why I can tell you all this? Because, you lying motherfucker, you're as full of shit as I am. And you gotta live with it and play it out for as long as it goes, right?
Here, McNulty identifies his revulsion with fiction's pretense. It being the only way in which he can solve the Stanfield case, he is bound to being trapped in his own lie, alluding to institutional strategies of self-preservation and stat-juking. However, whereas McNulty creates the false killer to revise the department's tactic of petty policing, Templeton merely exploits the newspaper to support his own rise in its flawed hierarchy, feeding upon a systemic cycle of capitalistic priorities.
Trapped in the same lie. Only difference is I know why I did it. Fuck if I can figure out what it gets you in the end. But hey, I ain't part of your tribe.
You're not serious, you can't.
No. No, I'm a fucking joke. And so are you.
Therefore, the inherent aestheticized and didactic properties of fictional storytelling, in deciding what is told, what isn't told, how it's told, are attempts to engage a world alternative to our own.
They're jealous of how much play his stories get, but the truth is...
We cannot run this shit.
Are you suggesting that Scott made any of this up?
You ever notice that the guys who do that, the Blairs, the Glasses, the Kellys, they always start with something small. You know, just a little quote that they clean up, and then it's a whole anecdote. And pretty soon they're seeing some amazing shit. They're the lucky ones who just happen to be standing on the right street corner.
In a self-reflexive gesture, The Wire is the tool which allows the viewer to seemingly be at that very right place at the right time. Gus considers Templeton's fiction to be an ethical failure in the newsroom and inimical to faithful and intimate reportage.
In Tel Aviv, when the pizza joint blows up and a human head rolls down the street with the eyes still blinking.
The pictures were sent to him. The police have confirmed.
It always starts with something true, something confirmed.
Yet The Wire is hardly compromising for the so-called average viewer, in that it pursues verisimilitude. Obscure slang of the corners goes unexplained. The inner workings of each department are granted little to no exposition, and each episode operates as a novelistic chapter as opposed to a self-contained unit. These are elements antithetical to our passive consumption of mass media.
But there is something a little bit disappointing about, but only disappointing, about people who they're channeling through and all of a sudden they see all these, African-American faces staring at them and talking like the inner city, and some of these are very disconcerting faces of the underclass, and they seem to be profane too, and oh, that's not my story, and they keep going and they find something else, and I think that's just the limits of human empathy. I mean, we all sadly want to see stories about ourselves.
Simon embeds this ongoing battle to narrate these forgotten experiences of America's underclass in Scott Templeton's made-up reporting and Gus Haynes' pursuit of veracity. Templeton's falsified storytelling is the absurd extreme of news being overblown as spectacular entertainment. On the other hand, being completely self-aware, The Wire acknowledges that few readily accept Haynes', meaning the show's, conception of intricate storytelling. Simon remarks in an interview with Nick Hornby, "The truth is, you can't write just for people living the event, if the market will not also follow." In the text of The Wire itself, Simon's deliberate thematic pairing allows him to cohere Baltimore's social problems within an explicit moral framework. The cyclical structure of a systemic status quo is perhaps too perfect, too ironically contained, but this fiction at least becomes a proxy for political critique that would otherwise, in this storytelling climate moderated by profit impulses, be impossible to engage.